Welcome to the Find Your Exit podcast, where the leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies, Michelle Seiler Tucker, is dedicated to helping you find the path to retire rich and move on to your next adventure by exiting your business for the desired dream price you deserve. Get ready to find your exit with your host, Michelle Seiler Tucker.
Hello, and welcome back to Find Your Exit. Today, we're going to talk about the different types of businesses and what type of business owner are you. So, I love the quote from Richard Branson. Every big business starts small. There are 32 million businesses in the United States, 32 million, and 99.9% of them are small business owners. So you really need to know what type of business you are, what type of business owner you are, so you know who's going to be your buyers. And if you want to go from one business type to a different type of business, then you need to know where you're starting from. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. So just like there's different buyers, you've heard me talk about the 5 different types of buyers, there are different business owners. The first category that I refer to these business owners in my book, Exit Rich, is the dreamer. Now, the dreamer, there's nothing wrong with the dreamer. So this is a type of business owner that goes out and starts a business instead of buying a business. And they typically will go out and start a restaurant, a coffee shop, a daycare, ice cream parlor, smoothie store, gift store, dress store, any type of retail business. And they think their concept is so unique that people will flock to it. That mentality of build it, fill the dreams, build it, and the people will come. The problem is that they typically don't do the research. They don't do their due diligence first. So if they start a coffee shop, a lot of times there's 6 other coffee shops in the neighborhood or 100 other restaurants in the city. And their idea is really not that unique. It's not really that different. So what happens is these business owners start these businesses and they'll put together a business plan, they'll put together, all their paperwork, and then they'll start the business. And guess what? They'll get an influx of customers pretty quickly, because what do consumers like? Consumers like to try something new. They want to get out of their habit and go explore and try a new business, a new concept. But then what happens is that business opens, they get an influx of clients, those consumers end up leaving because the business is in its infancy stage. It really hasn't gotten its systems and processes together yet. The owner's new, the employees are new, the processes haven't been defined and trained on. So the service is not good. And so the clients will come, customers will come, they'll try the business, and then they're like, oh, this is terrible, I'm not going back. And guess what they do? They don't just not return, they tell everybody else how bad the business is and how bad that service is. In the meanwhile, this other coffee shop or cafe or restaurant or whatever it happens to be that is in business and has been in business providing great service for a long time begins to decrease. Their business decreases, their profits decrease. Why? Because there's a competitor right around the corner that's eating off their plate. I call it cannibalizing the marketplace. The dreamers come in and cannibalize the marketplace. So not only does it hurt that existing business, hurts their revenues, but it also is going to hurt the business that just opened up, because even though they get an influx, that influx is not going to stay because their systems are not, they haven't built a solid foundation in order to create those wow experiences that keep a client coming back. So that's what I call a dreamer business. And dreamer businesses go out of business pretty quickly. And I've heard analysts say, oh, that business goes out of business because they didn't have a good business plan. I'm here to tell you, you're not going to go out of business because you don't have a good business plan. You're going to go out of business because you run out of money. You simply run out of money. You don't have enough working capital to weather the storm. Business is tough. You got to get your systems right. You got to get your people trained. You got to make sure your product is thriving. There's a lot of things that you have to do, juggle a lot of balls in the air to make sure you're going to provide excellent customer service and excellent experience to keep customers coming back. And that's why so often many of these businesses fail, because they don't have the proven systems and they don't have enough working capital. What type of businesses are these? These are gift stores. They could be gift stores. It could be restaurants, cafes, ice cream, smoothie stores, daycares, things of that nature. Okay. So that's the dreamer mentality. Now, the other business type is what I call the one man, one woman show. And what that means is that there's really no business. That person is the business. So let's look at an interior decorator. Does beautiful work, really can dress out a business or a home. But that's it. They don't have any people. And if they do, they might have an intern, maybe an independent contractor. But once that interior decorator leaves, there is no business. The relationship is with that interior decorator. Also think about an appraiser, a real estate appraiser who goes out and appraises real estate. They typically don't have employees either. They're usually one man, one woman show. There are some appraisal companies that do have employees. We actually sold an appraiser, I call it job, because it was just him and that was it. But we sold his job. I'm not going to call it a business. We sold his job. The caveat was that he had to stay on for 2 years with the new buyer, and it was tied to seller financing because of the rules and regulations that appraiser had to sign off on all of the buyer's appraisals for 2 years. So there's ways to get around this to be able to make the business sellable, but it is more difficult. Even like look at a photographer. You have a photographer. That's a difficult business to sell because most photographers don't really have employees. Also, you can look at a real estate broker or a real estate agent. A real estate broker can sell their agency if they have plenty of agents. That's great. A real estate agent can't, right? Also look at other licensed professionals such as doctors, chiropractors, dentists. If you're used to going to your dentist and they don't have any other dentists, it's going to be very hard to transfer you to a new dentist where you're very comfortable as a client, a patient, doing business with your dentist. So you have to look at that too. Now, I'm not saying these businesses are not sellable because they are. However, it takes a lot of thought and a lot of planning, and it takes the owner to stay on longer for the transition to be successful. So if a medical doctor, or a lawyer, or a chiropractor, or a dentist knows they want to sell, they should start bringing in an associate pretty quickly. And they should plan on staying for a while. Now you can look at hairdressers. That's a tough business to sell as well, unless you have a salon. However, if you have a salon and that stylist has a book of business, then and that stylist is leaving, then that book of business will have to come out of the financials. So there's all these different nuances and caveats that you have to work through. Then the other type of business is what I call the absentee business. And a lot of buyers are like, I want an absentee business. That's what I want to buy. And that's great. There's really no such thing as absentee in my opinion. But some of those businesses will be like car washes, laundromats, storage facilities, trailer parks. Absentee businesses are great. Now, yes, it can be absentee as long as you have somebody you really, really, really trust as a manager to be the liaison and handle the money. And then you have to make sure you have a lot of checks and balances in place too, because you got to make sure that you're getting that nobody's stealing from you. So you got to make sure the money is there. Also, it's hard sometimes on these businesses to prove income when you go to sell it because trailer parks are cash, laundromats are cash, and car washes are cash. So you got to make sure that you're keeping good books and records when it comes to that. Then we also get into the business that's experienced but established business. that has experience, but still really dependent upon the owner. And they've been in business, but the owner's still there, and the business can't really run without the owner. And that will be businesses that have like 3 to 5 employees, but they've been in business for longer than 5 years. Now, let's look at the well-established business that's been around for 10 years and been around for decades. These businesses are typically pretty good. They typically run on what I call the 6 cylinders, Seiler Tucker 6 Ps, and we'll get into that in another podcast of Find Your Exit. But these businesses, as long as they are continuing to innovate and market and keep up with the client demand, because consumers' buying habits change constantly, so you're constantly having to innovate and making sure you stay relevant and current to your buyers. These businesses are typically pretty good, and these businesses will typically sell pretty quickly. Now, they can be anywhere from education, manufacturing, distribution, maybe larger daycares, maybe large retail, larger restaurants, things of that nature. So again, ask yourself, what type of business am I? Is my business absentee? It's not going to take much supervision. The buyer can come in and really doesn't have to run it. Am I a one-woman, one-man show where the business is 1,000% dependent upon me, and without me there is no business? Or is my business a dreamer? I started my business a year ago. It's a smoothie shop. We're really not making that much money. Now, dreamer businesses can be sold, but they typically won't sell for multiple of cash flow if they're not making any money. They'll sell for the value of the assets in inventory. Turnaround specialists like to buy these type of businesses. Also, it's good for the dreamer to try to get more funding if need be, and also take on a partner if they need to get over that hump of being able to operate at a profit. Okay. So now that we've talked about those types of businesses, we'll also talk about small, medium, and larger type companies. So let's talk a little bit about that. So small businesses typically has anywhere from 5 to 7 employees, and they're completely dependent upon the owner, like I was talking about a minute ago. And these are daycares, these are cafes, these are retailers, dry cleaners, restaurants, anything really type of a retail business. It could be a medical billing business. It could be something like that. These are smaller businesses that really need the owner in the business to be successful. And then you have what I call the small to medium type businesses. And these are about 5 to 10 employees, 5 to 15 employees, and they're typically grossing over $2 million. The small businesses are typically grossing under $1 million. So these small to medium grossing over $2 million, they can be manufacturing, distribution, engineering, service businesses, medical, education, could be some restaurants as well, could be some retail in there as well, but they're grossing over $2 million. Okay, now the small businesses will typically sell to first-time buyers, and 95% of buyers are first-time buyers. So that's who your buyer would be for a small business. A small to medium-sized business can sell to a first-time buyer as well, but could also sell to a competitor or a strategic. Okay. Now we have our middle market businesses, and these are larger type companies. And these companies typically have 15 to thousands of employees, and they're grossing millions. They have a management team in place, so they typically have your CEO, CFO, COO, Chief Officer of Marketing, Technology, etc. So they have layers of organization in their company. They can run without the owner. It's not dependent upon the owner being there. Okay. Now I will tell you, there are some medium-sized to large businesses that have 15 and more employees, but guess what? The owner has not figured out how to work on his business instead of in his business, and he or she is still stuck into the day-to-day operations and really has their hand in every pot. So just because you see a medium to larger business with 15 or more employees, don't think the owner is not involved in the day-to-day, because many times they are, because a lot of entrepreneurs like to have control. They want to know what's going on in every single department. But then there's those businesses out there that have the management and team in place, that are the liaison between the employees and the owner, and those businesses are operating really with the owner at the top as a visionary running the business, not running a job. So that's the big difference. And these businesses will like I said, gross over 2 million. Their EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, will be much higher as well. And these businesses will sell to your strategics, your competitors, sophisticated buyers too, and also private equity groups if the EBITDA is high enough. Okay, so that's the medium to large size business. So you really need to do some exploring, because I get buyers, I get sellers all the time, business owners that call me and say, hey, I want to sell my business, and it's a one-man business. It's one person, it's a plumber, he has no employees, so there really is nothing to sell. I also get business owners that call me and say, hey, I got to sell this, it's not making any money, I can't hang on anymore, I don't have any money, I can't find any money, and it's what I call a dreamer business. Okay, so know your business, and just because you're a dreamer doesn't mean you can't grow that into a small to medium-sized business. Just because you're a one-woman, one-man show business doesn't mean that you can't hire employees or independent contractors to help grow a business instead of just having a job. Most buyers don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business. Now, in the case of the appraisal story that I told you about, that was a buyer really buying a job. He wanted to get into the industry, and we were able to make that happen for him. But for the most part, 99.9% of buyers are looking to buy an actual company. So if you don't fall into that status, there's still help for you yet. You can grow that business like Richard Branson says, every big business starts small. So you should go and take the quiz. What type of business am I? And that's at SeilerTucker.com. SeilerTucker.com. Take the quiz. What type of business am I? And know where you're coming from. Know what business you have and what business you want to be. I always tell my clients, ask yourself, what business am I in and what business should I be in? Very important. So you can always grow. And if you're in that licensed profession where you're the doctor and you're the only doctor, then guess what? Get an associate in there or plan your exit till we have a 5-year buyout plan. I'm in the medical industry. I have medical practices. We have multidisciplinary clinics with medical doctors and DCs. And if a chiropractor wants to sell, he knows he has to get an associate, or he has to have a plan to bring someone in and have a buyout plan where that associate is buying that doctor out as he's getting to know the business, getting to know the patients, and comfortable with the transition. So I hope this was helpful. Hope this was beneficial. It's been great being with you here today on Find Your Exit. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our next show and providing more information so you can continue to grow your business and find your exit when you're ready. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Find Your Exit podcast. Don't forget to check out Michelle Seiler Tucker's Build to Sell Blueprint books and Exit Rich, along with more blogs, videos, and resources at findyourexit.org. Be sure to connect with Michelle on Facebook or LinkedIn, and stay tuned for her next episode by subscribing in your favorite podcast player.